What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Sunday evening. The Blazers played the Knicks in Madison Square Garden and lost a 14-point lead that they worked pretty hard to build behind a 35-point second half for the Blazers. Brutal offense down the stretch. And the Blazers lose. They fall to 32 and 43. We're going to take a look at the standings today. We're going to take a look at the schedule today as there are only 7 games left in the regular season before things wrap up. Also, I'll only be here for 30 minutes, then Eric will probably solo stream for a bit as I have a family function that I will be attending. So I'm going to try and get all my thoughts out in 30 minutes, and then Eric will be here by himself for a solo stream. Speaking of Eric, how's it going, Eric?
Oh, pretty good. How are you, Tori?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. The Blazers, the second half was pretty brutal, but I'm at the point where I'm rooting for losses. I don't know if you're the same way. Maybe I should do a chat poll for that like I did a few games ago. But chat, are you guys ready to tank? We've completed March. There's only 7 games left. We're into April before we officially started tanking. I mean, Denny Avdia got ran into the ground today, so you know that the Blazers are still trying their hardest to win basketball games, especially considering they were competitive with Avdia off on the floor, and then with him off the floor, they were like a minus 18 in 6 minutes. That dude was phenomenal once again today, 33.7 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals. On 14 for 25 shooting, he got 25 shots up. That's what I'm most excited about in this game. Avdia got 25 shots up and looked great once again to end the season. So we're going to rattle through things pretty quickly. I'm not going to talk about every player that played today, but I also want to talk about kind of looking ahead to the offseason a little bit. We're doing that more and more. And that's what's on tap for tonight. Hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. Hopefully you guys are having a good Sunday. And also my internet at my house, at least my Wi-Fi has been in and out. So hopefully that won't be the case with the stream because the stream is hardwired. So it shouldn't be the case with the stream, but we'll see. Xfinity has been driving me a little crazy lately. But we've had like all year no lag problems. Okay, so knock on wood. The problem is I don't got a wood desk anymore. So I can't really knock on wood. I don't think I got a single piece of wood in here. So anyway, Eric, what do you want to start with, man? We're going to rattle through some things pretty quickly here before I bow out.
Well, before we get into the game, chat and Tori, did you guys do anything fun over the weekend with the Blazers not playing Friday and Saturday?
I went to Olive Garden yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many breadsticks do you put down when you go to Olive Garden?
I ate 5, and I had some fried lasagna. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was nice to go somewhere without a TV. Yeah, watch March Madness. 4-1 seeds in the Final Four. I know some people don't like that, but at least it was good basketball. And the past few days, I think, wasn't as many blowouts, so that was good. But, yeah, other than that, not much. What about you?
My couple days were pretty nice. My family was supposed to go to Redmond for spring break, but something fell through, and they ended up going to Seaside instead. Mm-hmm. So I joined them after work on Friday and had an epic game of 10 tiny teas, Tori.
10 tiny teas.
Yeah. So my wife and son had the best game of their lives, and we were all tied going to the last hole. My son puts his shot like on the lip of the hole, like half an inch away from the hole. So he's got to tap in too. My wife puts it like about 4 or 5 inches from the hole, so she's got it pretty easy too. And then I come up and hit a hole-in-one and beat both of them for the win.
Wow, you're
walk-off hole-in-one.
You're clutch like Walter Clayton Jr.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Have any of you played 10 Tiny Tees? If you've been to the beach at Oregon, you probably know what that is.
Did you bat flip the putter?
I did not, but I got pretty excited. Yeah. Let out a let's go.
Yeah, awesome. I was down there, 2 years ago? I don't know. My sense of time is screwed. So I woke up today thinking it was Monday and thinking I woke up late for work. So, my sense of time is brutal right now. It's brutal.
Nice.
But yeah, I want to quickly kind of jump into things here. I'm glad you had a good weekend, and that's a fun story. I I like the. Did you play Fascination? That's what I want to know.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's
Gotta
the
play some
game down there,
Fascination.
man.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So,
Yeah.
let's just jump straight into the team stats. Okay, let me pop them up here. Shout out to Brendan for cooking up the team stats for us. Here they are. So, they're always smaller. I don't know why. Don't know why. But let me just fix these real quick. Here are the team stats. The Blazers, 43.7% from the field, 25% from 3, 9 for 36. They started 2 for 14 from 3. Got outscored in the paint. They did get 13 offensive rebounds, which is nice, but it's not like they were making a bunch of shots anyway. The second half was brutal offensively. What kind of stood out to you offensively? Because like every other stat on here, man, I mean, some Blazer turnovers led to some Knicks breaks, especially in the second half. The three-point shooting, we know the Blazers are prone to having bad three-point shooting nights. This was one of them. Now, they didn't shoot at least half of their field goals as threes, so I guess that's a positive development compared to the last couple of games. But maybe they freaking should have because they only scored 93 points. So what was the issue, especially in the second half?
The second half felt way too much one-on-one. Primarily Anthony Simons. Just brutal game from him. But it felt like we just like even Denny at times in the second half was trying to force a little bit, but the main
You
thing
kind
that
of get
jumps
it.
Yeah, no, you get it for sure. And we wanted him to be more aggressive in the second half when he has an awesome first half. We had 22 at halftime, so but the big number that stands out, even though you said the 3-point shots should have been more, when your two guards go 3 of 16 from 3, that's going to be a killer.
I don't think that necessarily should have been more. They were not shooting a good 3-ball today. I think this is a better shot diet. They just did not. They did not make shots today. I mean, Ant had some clean looks from 3 that he missed badly. It was unusual. 5 for 20 for him, 1 for 8 from 3, and he's had some rough games lately. You know, he had 20 against Sacramento on decent efficiency, but it was 2 for 12 the game before that. Of course, he had a super hot start to the month, but we've talked about it. At the start of the month was like he's not making plays for others. He's just completely zeroing in on his own shot. The last 3 games, 8 assists, 5 assists, 4 assists. He's passing the ball a little bit more, and his shooting is suffering. And I'm really feeling like this is just not the right situation for Anthony Simons. We need somebody that can shoot like Ant is capable of, but maybe we need somebody that's, if we're going to have a shooter, maybe our best shooter shouldn't be so ball dominant. And it just feels like Ant is super streaky this year. It seemed like he might be breaking out of that with his hot stretch in March, but now it's just like, yeah, that was a really hot stretch to start the month. And you look at 2 of the past 3 games, he's 1 for 8 and 1 for 10 from 3. That's just brutal, right? And then defensively, doesn't provide much. There's a couple times he was cross-switched onto OG Anunoby in transition, and Anunoby basically just walks him right to the rim just because Ant doesn't have enough size and doesn't know how to deal with that. So it's just this game, and especially the games to end the year, I'm just thinking about long-term implications. And at this point, with Anthony Simons, it's like I really hope Orlando finally pulls the trigger on a trade for him because, I've seen a couple Blazer fans say the Blazers aren't using him right, and I'm really wondering what they mean by that because this season there was a stat I saw a week or 2 ago that was looking at players if they're better on or off the ball, and Anthony Simons was actually worse off the ball this year than on the ball. And we've seen it at times this year where like if catch and shoot isn't there like you'd like it to be for Ant, right? And he's not really it doesn't seem to be seamless between him and other players on this team in terms of like who's going to have the ball in their hands, who's going to attack, who's going to play off of who. It just feels disconnected in a way, especially when Scoot has it going or Sharp has it going, and Ant, to his credit, has stood out of those guys' ways at times, but it just doesn't feel like all the parts right now really function together all that well, and it just feels like Ant doesn't really functioned super well with this young core. When he was going off at the start of March, it was like we're just constantly putting the ball in his hands and he's just hunting his own shot, but it's not really in a team concept offensively. And watching this game, watching the Cavs game, man, it's like I feel like he could function better next to like Apollo Banchero and a Franz Wagner and play off those guys and actually get into a rhythm playing off those guys while still having the ball enough to be a little bit of a lead guard. And they need somebody that can play with the ball in their hands at a guard spot like he can. It just doesn't feel like it's the right fit on this team. It's felt really weird at times this year with like how much is Ant supposed to be shooting? Some games he doesn't shoot much. Some games he shoots maybe a little too much. And he played really well to start March, but it felt like it was just he's just going and getting his own, and then everybody else is doing something else. And yeah, a game like this is bad. It's just really getting to the point where it's like, yeah, they got to move him, even if they get back pennies on the dollar, just because I don't think the fit, especially when you got two young guards with Sharp and Scoop behind him, I just don't think it's the right fit here right now.
Yeah, we've kind of alluded to that most of the season. I never thought, given his comments before the season or at the exit interview last year, it's weird to say that he's kind of our tank commander right now, or has been at times. So maybe we should be thanking him, not criticizing him, but non-sarcastically, it's just, yeah, it's weird because you would think he spaces the floor and all that kind of stuff, which he does, but like he never moves. Like they don't move him at all. And even Dame was obviously a guy who had gravity and could space the floor for you when other people were driving.
But what Dame did when he was overplayed due to that gravity and teams trying to deny him, he back cut.
That's exactly what my point was going to be, is that Dame got several easy baskets. How many times did Nurk find him on like a backdoor cut lay-in? And that became something that defenses had to account for, and then you couldn't overplay him. And to me, that just goes back to the coaching staff, and they don't necessarily account for that. They just say, oh, well, he's got gravity, so let's just park him at the 3-point line and do this. Like, I'm not sure if they're...
He needs to make more of an effort to back cut, though, at times. Like, there's times where he's overplayed, and it's like he just kind of accepts it and stands there. Mm-hmm.
But like,
so I think it's both, yeah.
Scoot's kind of falling into the same thing, though, as he's gotten better shooting. We talked about this a few games ago, where Scoot's just content being a 3-point shooter a lot of the time now, too. And, I mean, that's fine if you're hitting them, I guess. But, like, I don't know. Maybe they need to call some more plays. And we talked about this with the backdoor lob for Sharp. We have these athletic guys like Scoot and Tamani and Anthony, like, why don't we ever try to utilize them on a backdoor lob? Where teams are expecting it for Sharp, maybe it's harder to pull off, but they wouldn't be expecting it at this point for anyone else on the floor. So I don't understand why they don't try to throw in some of those wrinkles occasionally, get them going with an easy shot, and then maybe their other shots start to fall too because they got an easy basket.
Yeah, 100%. But, I mean, the system is what it's going to be. Like, that's not going to change until there's a new coach. We all kind of know that at this point. So, I just think going forward, there's other teams where Ant would fit better on. And if he's not a great fit here and you're trying to prioritize two young guards, at some point you have to move him, even if the return isn't necessarily exactly what you'd want to get for him. Just because it'll be better for him. It'll be better for... starting Sharp and Scoot, and maybe they have a breakout next year, especially under a new coach. There's more that goes into a trade than just we're trading this player for these assets, and either it's enough assets or it's not. There's always context with both the teams and their situations. So just wanted to touch upon that for Ant real quick. And then I want to take a look at the Western Conference standings. Let me just update this picture real quick. The Blazers are currently 4.5 games out of the 10th seed, Eric. They have 7 games left to play. It is over. It is over. okay? It is over. Look at this. They're basically in a tie with the Spurs. That's for 8th and 9th lottery odds. We'll take a look at the lottery picture in a second. But it's over. You're not going to get the 10th seed. You lost too many games that you could have had a chance to win, given that you played a bunch of teams missing their best players and you didn't win enough of those games and you laid an egg against Sacramento, right? You had an opportunity. You didn't take advantage of it. All right, that's fine. You played meaningful games throughout March. This didn't really feel like it. I was rooting for the Blazers to lose this game. I wanted Denny to have 40 and the Blazers to lose by 3, right? They lost by 17. But you get my point. We're at that point where it's time to start tanking. And if you look at the schedule coming up, let me update this. The last time I used this graphic was when we were on a 6-game win streak. Doesn't that look very pretty? It looks amazing. But
yeah,
this is the latest schedule. All right. So the Blazers lost 4 in a row.
I don't see that as being pretty. I see it as that's what cost us.
Imagine we lost all those games. Yeah, what would our odds be at capturing the flag? Exactly.
We'd be right there with Toronto and those teams in that tier. Talking about some of these losses could bring us higher than those teams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But look at the schedule, man. Look at these next 5 opponents. Now, that's a tougher game than it seemed a little bit ago because they've been playing great basketball. You got at Atlanta, at Toronto, at Chicago, at San Antonio. The Blazers need to lose that game against the Spurs. They need to lose that game against the Spurs. Absolutely have to, okay? But you got a winnable game against the Raptors. You got the Hawks. You got the Bulls. If the Blazers really try and win these games, they absolutely can. These next 5 games, they absolutely can win all these games. They could hypothetically go on a 5-game winning streak, right? But what does that get you? What does that get you? You're 4.5 out of the 10th seed. If they win 2 games, you're still a game and a half with 2 games left. Like, even if you win every game the rest of the year, there's still a very, very good chance that you're not the 10th seed. At this point, it's time to wave the white flag. You gave them the chance through March to be in position to make a run at it, and they're not in position to make a run at it. They're not. So it's time to wave the white flag, okay? It's time to lose against Atlanta, lose against Toronto, lose against Chicago, lose against San Antonio. And it's fine. It's fine. Like, they got a chance. So I think we should all be in agreement that, all right, it's 7 games left in the year. They're not making the 10th seed. Let's get 8th best lottery odds. Even if they don't move up, then you still have a better pick where you might be able to get the perfect guy for this team that might not fall to 10 if the Blazers are drafting there.
What is the Raptors record? They're up 14 on the 76ers right now at halftime, and we play them again. Do we have any chance of catching them?
Well, let's
quietly.
Do a quick little tankathon, man. We got a fast pace to this stream. Yeah. All right. So the Blazers they're 4.5 behind Toronto. So they're going to be 4 behind Toronto. Mm-hmm. If they lost that game earlier in the year against Toronto, they'd only be 2 back, right, and we could actually have a conversation because the Blazers have another game against Toronto.
Why did Thibault block that shot? No, just kidding.
Yeah. 4.5. Like, that's the thing. They're 4.5 away from 10th seed. They're 4.5 away from Toronto. They're going to be 4 away from Toronto. Toronto would have to win 4 more games over the rest of the year. The Blazers would have to lose out, and Toronto would have to go 4-3, which one of those games if Portland loses out will give Toronto a win. So if you lose against Toronto, Portland would have to lose the rest of their games, and then Toronto would have to go 3-3, which, I mean, maybe. This is why I wanted so badly to lose to Toronto early in the year, because they're playing Philadelphia. They then got Chicago. They got Brooklyn and Charlotte and San Antonio to end the year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's why I wish the Blazers lost this game.
I don't doubt the Blazers' ability to lose all these games, but if they go for it and try to win from here on out, like, it's stupid. It's malpractice.
It is malpractice. You've shamelessly tanked the last 2 years, starting at the start of March. They even rested Dame back when they had Dame the first game after the All-Star break because he sat on a plane too freaking long, okay? You've been shameless in the past. It's April now and you haven't done it yet. It's okay to tank the rest of the year. 7 games. tank. Let's see some repair. Let's see if he looks better. Okay, there's some young guys that the Blazers can put out there and just see what they look like. It's completely fine, man. So that's what I'm for. You already are missing Jeremy Grant. You're already missing Robert Williams. You're already missing DeAndre Ayton. You're already perfectly set up to just sit a couple more guys and lose these games. You sit Denny Avdia, this team sucks. You got to sit him. Mm-hmm. He goes out with a bang in Madison Square Garden, has 33 points. So there you go. Yeah. Good end to a season.
You got Kamara's, he wasn't questionable this game, but the last couple of games before this one, he was questionable. You had Anthony questionable tonight. You have Scoot with the concussion. You can just sit him out the rest of the season.
Yep.
You just got to find a fake injury for Denny. But, we're past the point where we can say, oh, they need these wins for moral to, be better morally, or this winning these tough games will help them next season or whatever. We're done with that. We accomplished that this season. If you believe in that, that's what they did this season. Yep. They improved enough to feel good about themselves and to have confidence going into next season. If they lose the last few games because a bunch of people sit, that's not going to hurt or help them in any way, the current players on the team, but could help the organization immensely if they get a higher pick in the draft because of it.
Absolutely, and everybody's focused on the minuscule odds to capture the flag. If they move up to 2, that's great too. If they move up to 3, that's great too. If they move up to 4, that's great too. Picking 8th instead of 10th is better too.
Yeah, and
right?
trade-wise,
yeah. You know how gross it would be if the Blazers try and win these games so they end up with 9th best odds and San Antonio's 8th best odds and they move up? You know how bad we will feel at the end of the year? Yeah. Now, if you pass San Antonio and they're 9th and then they still move up, then it's all right, well, we tried to give ourselves the best odds at least. Yeah, what can we do? You know what I mean? But if you don't, why are you trying to win these games? So I want to do a chat poll. Should the Blazers tank the rest of the season? Yes or no? All right. There's the chat poll. And the Blazers' next matchup is... Let me toss it up here. It's against the Atlanta Hawks, okay? They're 35 and 38. They've remained somewhat competitive without Jalen Johnson. They still got Trae Young. You can let him pick you apart and pick and roll by playing Duop Reith 37 minutes, all right? And you can start the tank, It's a good opportunity. The Blazers, if they want to lose this game, they absolutely can. If they sit Denny, kind of want to... I don't know. You can play Klingon if you're sitting all these other guys and you can give him opportunity to, pass from the top of the arc. I don't know. Go experiment, Klingon. Shoot, 3-3. Shoot a step-back 3 if you feel like it. I don't care, right? It's time to experiment. That's what this game should be. It should be the start of that against the Hawks.
Yeah, the Hawks have been fine. They're going to win tonight again. They're blowing out the Bucks. With Giannis playing, so at Milwaukee, so yeah, they're wanting to, let's see what the standings are. Can the Bulls pass them still? Bulls are 2.5 behind. That's important for home court in that first 8-9 playing game. So they're trying to stay ahead of the Bulls. I think they'll get up for that game.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll toss up the Eastern Conference standings too.
Actually,
everything today.
Never mind. They're tied with Orlando for 7th. Not win percentage, but they play 2 less games. But they could still get into 7th. Yeah.
Oh, let me fix the games behind real quick.
The top 6 are set. So
yeah. So. Let's see. Chicago is 26.5 behind. So is Miami. The rest of the teams don't matter. Let me just update that real quick. But yeah, Atlanta is going to be playing for something. Is going to be playing to try and win. Okay. For any of you that have questions, I have to go in 5 minutes. So you can ask Eric. Eric will be by himself. So save your good questions for him. He can answer all of them. And then we'll be live on our second channel tomorrow. And then the upcoming schedule. these games Tuesday, Thursday, the postgame show will likely go live a little bit later because the games will end at about 7. I probably won't be available till a little after 8 to start things off, but that's fine. A lot of you seem to tune in for the later shows anyway. When it's a little earlier, it's not as busy in the streams, so we'll be going live like an hour later, basically, for those streams. And then, yeah, I mean, I can't believe there's only 7 games left, right? We're only got 1 game missing from this, so that is where we're at.
Sorry, you didn't run the take-a-thon. You want to do that?
I need to. Yeah, I'm going to right now. So Blazers tied with San Antonio, but San Antonio has a little better odds because they've played 2 less games. That's been the case the past couple of days. Yep. And then Toronto 4.5. They're going to beat Philadelphia. Basically, if Portland loses out, if they tank super hard and lose out, and Toronto goes 3-3 in games not against the Blazers will at least tie them for 7th best odds. That's really the situation. But that's the thing. If you start a little bit earlier, I mean, if you take out that 6-game winning streak, we're only 2 games behind Brooklyn for 6th best odds. You know, we'd be having that conversation. Could we get 6th best odds? Which is kind of where we've been, but you know, whatever. We're where we're at. I like that there's a game and a half cushion between Chicago and Miami. If the Blazers decide to tank, their bottom, their floor is 9th. Because you do play Chicago, you assume they lose. Like, if the Blazers try and tank, basically, they won't fall below 9th, and they can get up to 8th because they play San Antonio. So that should be the goal. 8th best odds. Didn't the Blazers have 7th best odds last year? Or was it 6th? Or was it 5th, and they moved down to 7th? I don't remember. I think it was 5th, and they moved down to 7th. So worse odds than we've had in a while, but, you know, just do the best you can. They're not going to get the 10th seed, so you might as well get 8th best odds at this point. All right, we'll simulate the lottery. We'll scroll up from the bottom, and then we will be out of here. Or I will be out of here.
Wasn't it 4th and 3 teams passed them?
I don't even remember. Last year's lottery was crazy.
I thought it was 4th and 3 teams passed them, if I'm not mistaken.
We got Dallas at 14, Atlanta via Sacramento at 13, Houston via Phoenix at 12, Chicago moving down to 11, which means Miami moved into the top 4.
Oh, yay, go Miami.
Which means the Blazers should be at 10, and they are. At 9 is Toronto, so San Antonio also moved up with Miami. This is brutal. Oh, I can't wait to leave the stream after this. 8 is OKC via Philadelphia, meaning Brooklyn also moved up. And OKC gets the 8th pick. This is disgusting. 7 is New Orleans, 6 is Washington, and 5 is going to be Utah. So you also have Charlotte up there. At 4 is Miami. At 3 is Charlotte. At 2 is San Antonio. And at 1 is Brooklyn. So let's just say the Blazers get 8th best odds. You know, that's San Antonio right now. All right, I'll take a second pick. I'll take a second. That could be fun. Draft Dylan Harper
Brooklyn
and figure it out.
Take flag.
Yeah. Maybe they trade down to 2. We'll give them Dylan Harper and a bunch of draft picks. Anyway, that's Tankathon. God. See, this is the exact scenario I'd be like, man, if San Antonio moved up because we tried to win these games just so we remained 9th best odds, that would be gross. That's the exact scenario there.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'll be live again with you guys on the postgame show on Tuesday. We'll be live tomorrow for Picks Against the Spread on Monday, so I can catch you guys there. Basically, I'm just gonna leave the stream running, and I'm just gonna put Eric up. That is the plan. So I just need to make sure things don't autoplay, and we'll be good. So I'm literally just gonna close all my tabs except the stream, and then you guys can ask Eric all your questions. I'm sure he'll dive into other players, and that'll be the postgame show. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on a Sunday evening. It's always a little rough on a Sunday evening, you know, dinner, all that good stuff, but we appreciate you guys. A little easier if you're watching from somewhere else. Anyway, I'm out of here. The Blazers lose. It's time to tank. That should be your takeaway from the stream. And I'm going to go eat some good food, man. I'm going to eat some good food.
Where are you going?
I'm not going to dox myself.
Okay, sorry.
I'm going to the waterfront. So
nice.
yeah, so that'll be fun. But yeah, appreciate you guys. All right, adios. Peace
All
out,
right,
go
sir. Have
Blazers.
a
I
good
can't
one.
I can't end it without a peace out, go Blazers.
Yeah. All right, what's up, everyone? I don't know if I'm going to be able to end the stream later, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. So I said I would get to this question from Rytex earlier. He says, I think Denny proved he can be the number one. Yes, maybe not for a contender, but unless we're lucky or we manage to get a trade or, God forbid, Shea Scoot do a major leap, we're kind of stuck. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm just going to interact with you guys for the rest of the stream. So in terms of like your question you asked earlier was should the Blazers say, okay, Denny is our guy? Um, yeah, I mean, do I think Denny could be a number one? Yeah, but I think you need like you need a much better team around him, a lot more shooting, some more lob threats, stuff like that. But I don't think that's a contender. So I think when you talk about contending, you need players like Denny to be like your second or third best player because then if he's your third best player, like you really have something because imagine two players better than Denny on your roster. So that's not a knock on Denny or anything, but I mean let's face it, he's he's done this on the Wizards and the Blazers, two non-playoff teams. So he hasn't shown the ability to get a team to the playoffs. Now, like I said, if he had a better roster around him, maybe. But um, yeah, you don't you don't just like rest on okay, Denny's our number one moving forward. We're going to give him those keys and we'll be fine. Like I think you have to continue to try and do that. Now, if you do that next year, that's probably fine. Like if you want to, let's say they don't move up in the lottery, get the 10th pick or somewhere around there, and you just roll with Denny as your best player next year. Maybe you trade Anthony or Scoot or Sharp don't take the leap you're hoping for them. I mean, I think we'll be okay long term because even if we don't make the playoffs next year, that draft, man, the 2026 draft is the one you want to really tank for if you don't get the number one pick in the 2025 draft. So um, I'm I think we're okay if we for the next year or two if Denny's our best player, but I don't think we can come out of this into being contention if Denny is our best player in like 3 years. If he's still our best player, I think we're probably a fringe playoff team still. I don't think we're anything more than that unless like the leaps from Scoot and Sharp are where they're kind of like 1A, 1B, 1C with Denny. And but I still don't think that's good enough to take a leap from just a little bit above where they're at right now naturally to like one of the top seeds in contention. So I don't know if you guys in chat agree with me or not, but like I think that's how it is. Like you're just kind of you can bide your time with Denny as your number one, but the ultimate goal should be to pair him with a a player, keep adding players that are just as good as him or better than him. And until they find it, I think they're going to struggle to get a lot better. Going from good to great is really tough. Brunson made his leap at 26, 27. That is true, but the thing is with Brunson, he like he was playing behind Luca, so he was never going to have that chance. So we don't know if he was capable of that. When Luca missed time, he had I remember a playoff game where Brunson went off and looked like he could be a guy like that, and you're certainly capable of doing that. Like several players can step up in a small sample size or whatever. I think Denny's shown enough to be Like, do you feel really good about him being um, one of your main guys on a championship team? I don't know if he has a step to being like an elite number one guy. Like, I don't know how he makes that jump because like lately in the stretch, his shooting's been good. His rebounding's been good. His defense has always been good. I don't know, man. I don't know how. Like obviously, if he puts up these numbers, you're talking an all star maybe next year. But I don't know if we're like that much better record wise, because we're still not winning a lot of these games. So I'm not sure. What is John even talking about? I'm not really sure either. Um, Next year will be Denny's test. Yeah, it should. Um, yeah, I mean, clearly Denny has been our best player throughout the season in terms of overall. Uh, Outside of he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season, got benched for a while. I think we can say like with 100% certainty he shouldn't be the guy benched moving forward. Like he definitely should be the guy in terms of if this roster doesn't have any drastic changes or get that star. So so yeah, I mean, like I feel like you think I'm like arguing against you, but like I do think that he's like a really good player and I'm happy he's a Blazer. So um yeah, I mean we're in good shape with him on our team. I just I don't think I just don't think it's going to be good enough to contend. And if Scooter Sharp makes a huge star jump, like they're probably surpassing Denny as the number one guy then. So um, yeah. Alex Wolf wants to talk about the Cavs. What's the Cavaliers ceiling? I think their floor is second round. I think they should. I mean, what are the standings right now? They have, is it Indiana and Detroit in that 4-5? If that holds and that's their second round matchup, their floor should be the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, they shouldn't lose to Detroit or Indiana. I know Indiana made the conference finals last year, but you have to beat Indiana this year if you face them in the second round. So yeah, I think that's their floor. I think their ceiling is probably getting by Boston and making the finals. I'd be surprised if they won it all. Sorry to say that, Alex. But I mean that technically as a number one seed, it's hard to say that that's not their ceiling. But I think so. I think they should make the Eastern Conference Finals if the standings hold up the way they are. I think it's a huge disappointment if they're not in the conference finals. And then if they lose to Boston, I don't think that's like a horrible year or whatever, because they weren't supposed to be better than Boston this year anyway. But yeah, that's probably how it shapes up is them losing to Boston in the conference finals. If they happen to get by them, I mean anything can happen in the finals, but I don't see them winning a tough series against Boston and then turning around and beating like an OKC or someone like that as well. Um, let's see. AAA says second Eric question. What does that mean? Eric Olson says, "What does I think it's talking about Denny's game lack that prevents him from first option on a contender material?" Um, well, there's a couple things. He has shown a tendency to uh, get tired or like kind of. not be effective for 48 minutes. And when you play like that, I don't blame him at all. Like when you go all out, when you're using so much speed and physical, uh, you're being physical most of the game. It does tend to wear you down a little bit. Um, I just he's he's really good at pretty much everything. He's just uh like I don't know, like when teams pack the paint or whatever, like how do you be effective when you don't have the ability to get to the rim on certain teams, things like that. So um now if you add a bunch of shooting around him and we have lights out shooting and teams can't pack the paint, then maybe he can take that leap. It's just um I mean, this is going to sound like a horrible comparison, but we always talk about Russell Westbrook when he was the number one, being one of those guys who has to have the ball in his hands, but can't, like, isn't going to be, he's not going to be a championship level player. Uh, like if he's your number one, he'll put up the stats obviously, but like, so I'm not comparing Denny to him, but I kind of put him in that category where you just need either that perfect roster around him or whatever. But I don't know. I just like obviously, like I said, if he puts up the numbers he's put up in March throughout a whole season, I mean that's elite status right there. Um, I just I don't know. Like I don't see like he's good at so many things. It's hard to imagine him taking a leap in any of those things, if that makes sense. JP Savvy asks, who besides OKC is even a realistic pick for the Western Conference champions? Um, and man, it certainly to me looks like if OKC doesn't do it, it's a failure by them. I mean, they're 14 games clear of second. Um, so the Rockets, obviously, that's been an awesome story. They're the 2 seed right now. If they're the 2 seed when all is said and done at the end of the season, I mean, that's an awesome story. But do you trust them their first year in the playoffs, making it all the way to the finals? I find that hard to believe, even though they're on the come up and are going to be a tough out for someone. I find it hard to believe they're going to win 2 series, 2 tough series, and then uh, make it past the Thunder then in the conference finals. So if you look at the rest of the teams, you have the Nuggets. I can't rule out Jokic, but I mean, at times they've looked very mediocre. But Jokic has been hurt a little bit recently. Could they get it together? Maybe. Jamal Murray goes crazy and Jokic is Jokic. I could see them making a run. The Lakers with Luka and LeBron, I could see them making a run. The Grizzlies firing Jenkins at this late in the season, they seem like first round fodder at this point to me. The Warriors, now that they have Jimmy Butler, I mean that's going to be an incredibly tough out for someone. And then you have teams like Minnesota, if they win the play-in, like you have to go beat a team that made the conference finals last year and looked like they were on the come up. Now they haven't had the greatest regular season, and they made the trade for Julius Randle, got rid of Cat, but I certainly think they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And so I don't know. I don't trust the Clippers, Mavericks, Kings, Suns if they squeeze in. I guess could be tough for a team, but I'm sick of thinking of them as going to be a tough matchup or whatever. But yeah, so the Thunder are going to get. as of right now, it'd be the Lakers probably beating the Grizzlies in the second round if that holds up, or in the first round, and so the Thunder would get the Lakers in the second round. That's a that's a weird matchup, man. Anything could happen in that one, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder easily got by the Lakers, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers won that one, unfortunately. If the Warriors happen to creep up into that fifth spot and it's Lakers Warriors, that's whatever team comes out of there could give the Thunder trouble. Um, but yeah, I think if they get by that second round matchup, though, they're gonna be in the finals. And they're way too good unless they get an injury to not make it this year. I don't think. Let's see. What else do you guys want to talk about? Um, Red Tech says, would you give Ant JG plus 4 first-round picks for Anthony Edwards? Yes, I would, but they're not going to do that, so that's out of the. There's no chance Minnesota trades him for that package. Will Evan Mobley win Defensive Player of the Year? I don't know. He's in all the betting lines, he's second right now. Actually, Draymond is first in that, so we'll see. AAAA says, should the Blazers prioritize a center or a guard in the draft? For me, I think the Blazers need to add talent regardless of what position they play. So I think if they go into it thinking, oh, we need this position or we need that position, I think it's the wrong attitude to have. I think you've got to go into it with the mindset of what your team needs are and just taking the best player available and making it work. If you trade Anthony, you need a third guard. If you trade Ayton, you still need a second center, probably long term with Klingon. Now, the problem is if you draft those positions, though, and they're not better than if you draft a guard and they're not better than Scooter Shea, and you draft a center that's not better than Klingon, then you're basically wasting a lottery pick on, or not necessarily wasting, but you're using a lottery pick on a long-term backup. So the problem with that is, while we do need rotation players, it's hard to see a huge jump if that's all we do is add like a backup center in the draft. So it in my opinion, the players who, like, if you drafted someone who can only play point guard or only center, it's the same problem in my mind because they're a full-time backup basically. Now, if you draft a power forward center combo that could play next to Klingon a little bit, then you're cooking with something, right? You have the ability to match up differently against different teams. You can play him as backup center, but play him at the four some, and you can get some playing time that way. Same with like a guard. If they're like Dylan Harper should be big enough to play the two, maybe even the three. So you can play him a little bit with guards and stuff. So yeah, like Asia Newell, I think could maybe develop a shot enough to play the four. I don't know if Queen's going to be able to play both positions in the NBA, but I definitely think that's more of the style they should go for instead of, I mean, as good as like Malawach is, like if you take him, like you're pretty much guaranteeing that Klingon and Malawach can only play 24 minutes a game or whatever, which might be okay, I guess, but I just have a hard time believing that they're gonna like pigeonhole themselves into only being able to play those kind of minutes like no matter who they drafted that position. So I think they're going to look more for like, well, one, they have to be able to shoot a little bit, and two, positional versatility so we can run different lineups. We saw a lot of them playing big this year with, and I don't necessarily think this will continue in the future, but that's not my point. But we had some lineups with like Jeremy, Denny, and Tamani all starting for a long time. So with those kind of lineups, the thing you want is switchability and things like that. So if you have more players that can play multiple positions, then you can do different things with your lineups and have a lot of versatility there. So I think that's more the number one thing they need to add this season, this offseason, is shooting. And then if those guys happen to be positionally versatile, that would be even better. Let's see. Eric Olson asks, any chance the Blazers would take VJ if we landed the third pick? I think there's definitely a chance. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the scenario. Do you draft on star upside or do you draft on need or whatever? I know Ace Bailey's shooting fits aren't the greatest, but I do have a tough time seeing them pass on Ace Bailey if he's on the board at 3, and we're the third pick. I don't know. It just someone that was a point of emphasis last offseason was getting length and defensive-minded players. Ace Bailey's a pretty good defender, and even though his shooting splits aren't great this year, I mean, you get him into an offense where he's not having to force shots and like basically take a bunch of really difficult shots if you just have him spotting up and cutting out of the corners or whatever. I think he becomes a very talented and player you have to account for off ball. And so I would find it hard to believe they'd pass on both the upside and the size and shooting of an Ace Bailey at 3 or 4 if he was on the board and take another guard over him. Now, if they did, I think it would strictly be we're looking for the player who we think has the most realistic chance to be a star. And if that is the case, I think you could definitely justify taking VJ. But yeah, I don't know. In the Blazers position with Scoot already on the roster and stuff like that, I'd probably lean towards them taking the bigger forward over another guard. Now 2-3, if it's the difference between Harper and Bailey at 2, I think they take the better player in Harper just because it is. Maybe they trade back a spot and stuff like that. But yeah. What kind of question was that, Blaze the Nugs? And I'm not saying that taking Ace Bailey over VJ Edgecombe is necessarily the right play. I'm just saying what I think Portland will do if they got the third pick. JPS, will Tamani make an all-defensive team? I think he should. He for sure should. Will he? He might sneak into the second team, but something tells me he's going to get snubbed, and we're not going to be celebrating that, unfortunately. But I'm going to be ecstatic because I think he definitely deserves to have it. Yeah. John asked, are the Lakers going to extend Luka for next year? I think they have him under contract for next year. He's just eligible for an extension. I think they'll for sure try to lock him up. Now, I'm not sure if Luka signs or not. I'm assuming he's happy in LA and all that, but yeah. I think they'll definitely offer him the extension the minute it's available, whatever that is. And it's a lot less than his extension would have been in Dallas, so you don't have to worry about paying him quite as much money. Can we've asked, do you think the Blazers package their pick if it lands in the 8 to 12 range for a player, kind of like the Denny trade? Um, this is a little different this year because they don't have a second lottery pick. So I I think if a player they really coveted becomes available and that pick can be used for that, then maybe. But I think this year, with that being their only pick, most likely, I think they're just going to keep it and then draft a player. It's a little deeper draft as well. So I'd be surprised if they just traded that pick outright for a player. We know their top pick every year, even when they had Dame and we're talking about trading it for winning, they still held on to it every year. So I think since it's their only lottery pick this year, I think they keep it. And if they make a Denny type trade, I think it'll be elsewhere. Wolves Pistons brawl was nuts. What happened? I didn't see it. Tori says, good on ball, but really bad team defender. I'm assuming he's talking about Ace Bailey. Yeah. Yeah, that's something he'd have to work on for sure. But I think that they'd be too intrigued by it to pass him up. Johnny asked, would Sabonis work next to Klingon? I just think the amount the Blazers would have to give up to find out if that works would be too much. And I think Sabonis with Denny is kind of a weird fit. Like, both of them are kind of playmaking fours. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Elizabeth Allen says VJ is 3 on his board. For Portland specific, it'd be Ace without seeing the workout, of course. I'm sure Ace is going to do awesome in workouts. Yeah. Tori thinks Tamani will make the all defensive teams. So that'd be awesome if he did. Do I still like Leonard Miller? I mean, yeah, I still like him as a prospect. Someone who's dominated the G League, just hasn't gotten any opportunity to play rotational minutes in the NBA. So that's the kind of guy, if you're a rebuilding team, I would try to pick up for cheap and give him some minutes. But I mean, it's hard to say. Would I trade the 4th pick if we got it and Anthony plus salary for Zion? I don't know, man. As good as Zion is, I find it hard to believe he'd be the one who led us into some new window with how injury prone he is and all that kind of stuff. It would just scare me with his contract and injury situation. Now, if we got him for fairly cheap, maybe. I mean, that's not bad, the 4th pick, but I mean, you're talking about Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe, and then Ed Anthony, plus you still have to include another contract for him. So that's a lot to give up, man. I don't know. I don't know if they would or not, but me specifically, I don't know. I just Zion is he's awesome when he plays. Like he's definitely. I mean, he could be a top 10 player if he played consistently. He's added some passing to his game, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it can be trusted or work long term with how his body is. So great for him if he figures it out and keeps his body in shape and stuff like that. Doesn't get hurt. I just wouldn't want to take that chance if I was Portland without it being like a no-brainer type trade. But I mean, if we only gave up a first-round pick and Anthony and someone else for him, I don't know if you could pass that up either. Yeah, Loki. I guess you could do that if he gets hurt. You just tank next season and maybe get AJ DeMonster or something, right? Um, yeah. All right, just kind of going down. Um, do, do, do. Can Blazers pick up Cooper Flag from Duke? Only if they get the number one pick. They've kind of ruined their chances of that. Is there anyone from the upcoming draft that could help the Blazers a lot? I mean, I don't know about a lot, but I mean, there's a lot of talent in this draft. Um, Now you'd have to get kind of lucky and have, someone boom as a prospect if you're in that 8 to 12 range. But I definitely think it's possible. I mean, look how much, like, I don't know if you've watched the tournament, but I mean, if you get a guy like Conkinable, I mean, that guy's had incredible few games in the tournament, had a really good end of the season after. I mean, he's played well all year, but he struggled a little bit shooting wise, especially the three ball early in the season. But he's got that percentage up. He's just insanely lights out free throw shooter. So you have hope that the shooting overall will continue or is real. And his passing's been impressive. The way he uses his frame to get shots and to pass. I mean, that kind of player can change. Like it's basically like adding another Denny level player. So yeah, I definitely think it's possible. How much it helps is probably the debate. Are we never going to find out the results of the poll? Well, 77% say yes. No is 23%, but we'll let it run. 142 votes. Good job. Trying to see if I can end the poll or not. I don't know. Don't delete the stream. We don't want that. All right. 7 players got ejected in that Wolves fight. Who were they playing? Detroit? Who were the players? Was like good players or what? Let's see. Landon says Ace Bailey gives off Jabari Smith vibes from 2022, kind of guy that reminds you of certain superstars but doesn't actually reach it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I definitely see the comparison there between those two. Um, I mean, if Jabari Smith, he was projected to be, 40% 3-point shooter, whatever he was in college, and I don't know why that hasn't translated. Um, but I could see it. But if you get Jabari Smith shooting 40% from three, he is a really good player. He's been a good defensive player for Houston. He's done other things well. He just hasn't shot the ball as well as you would have expected from him coming out of college. And Ace Bailey definitely has a lot of the same weaknesses as Jabari Smith had coming out of the draft, but I don't know. I could see Ace Bailey kind of thriving if you gave him the exact role Jabari Smith has in Houston with the kind of shot quality Jabari gets. I could see Ace really taking a jump that Jabari hasn't yet taken in that role. If Zion came to the Blazers, where would he play with Kamara and Denny? He'd probably just bring one of those guys off the bench. If you get a better forward than either of them, I think you've got to. But Zion's going to be hurt a lot, so Kamara and Denny will still start a lot too. Farrell Roly Pulley, what's up? Thoughts on Tyrese Proctor? I don't get why he isn't considered a second round guy. Funny you asked when I'm on a solo stream. That is someone I've always believed in. That's someone who I still have on my draft board. I do wonder why other people don't. But I do understand that his second year, he should have taken a leap that he didn't. And then this year, I feel like he's been really good, really steady. His shot looks so much more confident and smooth. It feels like it's going in when he shoots it. It's someone that I would love to see on a team that wasn't Duke, that he had a chance to just like take over games and see how good he could play if he was taking, 2 or 3 times as many shots in a game or getting much more opportunities to be the guy instead of, the third or fourth option. But dude, Proctor's an NBA guy. I feel like he's got good size. He can handle the ball. He can shoot now. Defense is a bit of a question mark, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he snuck back into the first round. But he's definitely a second round guy. If he declares for the draft and doesn't get drafted, I think that's a mistake by a lot of teams. Do I still believe in Cody Williams? I still think he has a chance, but yeah, he's struggled pretty bad. But I did not want them to take Cody Williams. I want them to take Buzelis at 7. Buzelis is playing really well lately for the Bulls, but yeah, I think Klingon was the right call if you're talking him or Cody Williams at this point. All right. Case Peterson asked, do you see Denny playing at the 3 or 4 long term? I think he's a 4. I think the 4 is his best position. If he has to play some 3, he can, but I think definitely long term it's the 4. Yeah. All right, Idon says, can you F off with the tank? We are going to lose games anyways. Let the young guys play and develop. What does that mean, Iden? What young guys do you want to play and develop right now that aren't playing and developing? What? We're basically eliminated from the play-in. What possible good does it do to not play or to play the rest of the guys and win games and stuff? Like, I don't understand. What are you trying to accomplish with 7 games remaining that you haven't already accomplished this year? Like, if you made that comment 20 games ago or whatever, like, sure, like I would be 100% okay with that. But at this point, we're not going to catch any of the teams ahead of us. What possible good would come off of guys playing a few games at the end of the season? I don't get that. Do I think Jonathan Isaac is a better power forward than Zion? No. What? Don't get that. Johnny Pedroza says, Harper better than Flag, lacks defense. Are you telling me Cooper Flag lacks defense? Did you actually say that on our show, Johnny? Get the F out of here with that. Flag is one of the best and versatile defenders. He can guard any position. He can stay in front of guards. He can guard bigger players. He's great protecting the rim. Like, he's good at the point of attack on the perimeter at his size. What on earth did I misread that? Did you misspeak there? please tell me you mistype something. Please. Uh, what? what? Sorry, guys, I'm flabbergasted right now. Like, what? What? Yeah, I'm sorry, Johnny, but that might be an all-time bad take on this show, and that's really saying something, man. No, I don't think Johnny's trolling. Uh, Maybe just hasn't actually watched him play. Wow. All right, I'm all like confused, man. No, Johnny's not a troll, man. Like, man, that'd be like saying like Scottie Pippen sucked defensively back in the day or something. Hakeem Olajuwon, what an awful defender, man. Like, what? I don't get it. Alex Wolf asked, "What would Phoenix have to give you to take on Beal's contract, assuming he was willing to waive his no trade clause?" He's not going to, though. That's the problem. He's not going to waive it for Portland, so it doesn't matter. I mean, if they gave us two firsts and we got off of some contracts, I'd maybe consider it, but they're not going to, so it does not matter. Um, So Ian says, hopefully they just play a little less, not fully tank. But I mean, they have a bunch of guys out right now. It's the end of the season. I know you're saying you only get to see him once a year in person in Toronto, but man, it's I'm sorry, but it's probably going to happen. You might get to see Sharp playing in Canada. Isaiah Stewart, no surprise he was involved. Marcus Sasser, Ron Holland, DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, all ejected. Are any of them did any of them do something that would probably warrant getting this worse, like suspended further? All right. What are your honest feelings about what will happen with Billups? Will he be back, you think? We just talked about this on a stream a couple streams ago. Personally, I think he will be back. Yeah. I think they bring him back for one more year, but hoping that's wrong. Hoping that is wrong. My computer just slowed down. All right. Method wants to talk Taylor Jenkins. All right. So, I got a little bit of info on that. I actually have some. I mean, oh, okay, fine. You guys know I never do this. I have some inside information on that topic. So this Lisalo assistant coach, the guy who's their interim now, basically came in and got in Jaw's ear all season. Um, Jaw started gravitating towards this assistant guy, and he started getting in Jaw's ear about how most stars around the league get to run, the offense more and get to play a lot more. Because Taylor Jenkins this year, I don't know if you guys know, but he has they've run the least amount of pick and roll by far, and he's trying to run an offense without running pick and roll. Now, I don't know if they would change that up during the playoffs or not, but it's been they've been trying to flow the offense without running it. And now a lot of this is stupid because Jaw's not even playing, so like, who is he to go like use his power or whatever to go against Jenkins? But so what I heard happened was this Lasalo guy and Jaw have become close, and they've been talking this whole year. And Lasalo keeps talking to him about how he'd run the offense differently, have different schemes and philosophies that would feature Jaw more, and the team would be better off for it. And it finally got to the point where Jaw just like agreed with him and went to the front office and basically used his power to say he wanted Lasalo as coach instead of Jenkins. And now he's under contract, so you can't say like I'm leaving in the offseason or anything like that. So I don't know why they caved to him. But so I heard Jaw went to the front office and basically said he wants Jenkins out. And the team caved to him, and they kind of like this Lasalo guy too, because the GM could be like, "Oh, I found this guy," and so yeah, they've had some issues, the GM and Jenkins, but I think his name's Kleiman, the GM, but yeah, so. The fact that they have been struggling a little bit lately, which I don't think you can blame on Jenkins that much. I mean, Jaw hasn't played at all recently. They've had a lot of injuries like they have in the past. And I think Jenkins is doing a pretty good job with what he has. And they're not even going to be in the play-in or anything. They're going to be an actual playoff team. They're the fifth seed right now. I don't. Yeah, basically the assistant is a slime ball and wormed his way into the position. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I guess it could go bad the rest of the season, and they could just clean house and move on. But I heard that it was almost guaranteed that unless he does something really stupid or bad, Lasalo's going to get that job long term. And yeah, yep. So yeah, don't ask me how I have a connection to that situation, but I didn't even know I had a connection to this until someone reached out to me, and I was like, whoa, okay, yeah. And with 9 games left in the season, it's insane. Yeah. But yeah, someone in the NBA, someone in the NBA has ties to the Grizzlies situation, and I know that person. So yeah, yep. Um, let me. Taylor is asking if I'm going to get any info on the Chauncey thing or not. I've been asking. Let me put it that way. I've been asking. Have not gotten a non like I don't know how to put this. I haven't gotten anything other than like a politically correct answer, just like a generic answer thus far. Um, but I've been told as soon as they know more, they'll try to. Uh, yeah, they'll try. They'll try, but to get me some info. But I did ask over this weekend if they could give me something. So we'll see. I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see. Um, Wait, it says since when does Eric know Santi Aldama? Yeah. It's not Santi Aldama, and I think that incident with Bain and Aldama on the bench was like the final straw for the front office to be like, okay, this guy's if Jaw's coming to us and Bain and Aldama are fighting on the sideline, this guy has obviously lost the team. So that was definitely the final straw of like, okay, these players might be right. Maybe we need to make this change now instead of letting it get even worse and maybe lose some of these players long term. JB Savvy says, "What incident?" There was a game a few games ago where Bain and Aldama got into it on the bench during a timeout, and Bain actually shoved Aldama back into his seat or whatever. Yeah. Yep. Brendan says so. Basically, all our players had to do was fight to get Chauncey out. Um, well, I don't think like anyone's gone to the front office to say they want Chauncey out, so I don't think that would matter. But I mean, that has happened in Portland before. There was the mutiny with like the Raymond Felton team in the locker room that got Nate McMillan fired or whatever. So I guess it could happen if players started revolting or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think Chauncey. That's the one thing you could say about him. He's got the respect of the players, even if they don't necessarily show it. Sometimes they, I think it definitely still. I think players haven't turned on him or anything. Yeah, and Jenkins definitely was on the hot seat in terms of this summer and stuff. Like I said, maybe unfairly. No, it is not Jay Huff either. I don't know someone on the current Memphis Grizzlies team. I know someone who had connections to an NBA player that had connections to someone that worked for the Grizzlies. All right. That's as far as I'm going to say. That's probably already too much. Marcus Smart is the sparkling ice guy. What is he? Is he the Tory of the NBA or something? Let me go up and see if there's anything else earlier. If you had a question earlier that I missed, go ahead and say it again. I kind of went back a little bit, didn't see anything else. Um, do, do, do. Yeah, Alex, you can text me. Whatever. You guys are funny. You guys are funny. I'm not that. tight end. I just I got really lucky to happen to know someone who knows someone. So what's con ceiling? I think that's a good question. Um, hmm, hmm. I don't know, man. I was the first thing that popped into my mind was Denny. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Um, Markkanen's pretty good, but I think he's a little bit like Austin Reeves type. Yeah, Antonio. That's yeah. He uses his body so well. Yeah. Um, I'm good. A text from Alex Wolf. No, nope. Uh, yeah. Um, all right. Further places thoughts on Tejan Salon so far. Obviously, he's really struggled this year. I still, and then so there's a question about Landon asked, "Do you think you're wrong on Chomsky now with hindsight, or are you holding out hope?" So they both had kind of different seasons, but I have not lost hope on either of those guys. They were both long-term projects, and I don't know why people give up on long-term projects after one season or think that's a for sure thing. Those guys were always years away from realizing their potential. So I'm still high on both. I still think Salon can become a really good 3-point shooter, and with his size and stuff, I think he just needs a lot more experience. But I mean, I understand he's struggling, so like people think he's a bust or whatever. But I think after like 2 or 3 seasons of playing in the NBA, I think he's just going to grow tremendously, and I think he's got the size and ability to kind of stick around even if he struggles for those first few years. So I think he'll be fine. Now with Chomshay, he got hurt, is out for the rest of the year, but he was, I mean, he was the youngest player in the draft. He was leading the G League in blocks, and was showing a lot of the defensive traits that I thought would lead to him being a really good NBA player. Uh, so I think um, he's got several things. I think he's can be a decent rebounder. I think he can be a decent passer as a big man, and he's got the defensive prowess to be a good defensive rim protector. And I think he's quick enough to be kind of like a bit of like a Bam Adebayo type switchable center. So I think he's learned a lot this year, and I think a lot will be if the Raptors have him on the actual roster next year, or if they have him in the G League again. That'll tell you a little bit of what they think about him. Um, but his offensive game, his shooting was way worse this year than I had hoped or thought it would be. So that's the only thing that gives me pause to fully believing in him still. But everything else, he showed some good progress this year. Was really starting to be a menace on the defensive end when he got hurt. And so I just think it's a matter in his case on if he figures it out offensively. But like I said, he was the youngest player in the draft this year, so he's going to have to really work on that offensive game. But I mean, he's got a lot of time. And we do this with other bigs, like even bigs that played a couple years in college. We say, "Oh, it takes bigs longer to figure it out now." And now point guards have gotten that same thing. But yeah, I think he just needs some time, man. He's got the game and stuff like that. Yeah. But I still have Chomsky number 2. I mean, I bumped him down to like number 4, whatever. But I always said all along I wouldn't take him at number 4. Obviously, you could have gotten him in the second round or whatever. I still think that's good value. But yeah, I still believe in Salon and Chomsky long term if you're a rebuilding team. Now, if you were a good team or something, or trying to become a good team right away, those probably weren't the best players for you. But yeah. Taylor Packer says, I feel on the projected players because it's like everyone understands pre-draft that some players will take a few years, but then they suck as a rookie and everyone forgets that and calls them a bust. Yeah, that's kind of my point. It's like, I don't know, like Zach Collins or whatever. You know, it's like, oh, he's going to take several years. Shaden Sharp, it's going to take several years, and then they show like a little bit of something as a rookie, and then all of a sudden people are like change their expectations, and then they're like disappointed with them. So there's that aspect too. But like, yeah, I mean, these guys, no one thought either of those two guys were gonna come in and be like stars in the NBA right away. So yeah, I don't know. Wes Davidson thinks Cash is a better player than Chomsky. Okay. All right. So Cash would lead the G League in block shots. I get you. West, I still need to take you out for a beer. Marv says Bazella sure looks good, man. Yeah, he had plus 30-point game. What do you have, 36 or 38 yesterday or something like that? Looks really good right now. How's this Kobe White? What else do you guys want to talk about before I end the stream? It's been fun interacting with you guys for an extended period. Todd Clark asked, will Grant return to help the Blazers tank after these final games of the season? I think they're going fine without him, but yeah, if they need one of their tank commanders back, I think he will be. But I while you're here, Todd, I'm glad to see you in chat earlier stream. So I'm guessing that's why you're here. This guy, Todd Clark, messaged me before Jeremy Grant's last good game and said, if Jeremy Grant has a good game, watch for him to not play the rest of the year. And as of right now, this guy, Todd Clark, even though for some reason they haven't listed him as out every game, they list him as doubtful every game. It's like, at some point, just list him as freaking out. But this guy, Todd Clark, called it before it even happened, before Grant even had a good game. He said there would be a point where Grant had a good game. I thought it was a little too early for that to happen, but so far he's been spot on. So great call on that, Todd, especially if Grant doesn't play again this season or is a Blazer. You were spot on with that. And even if he does play, I feel like you were still kind of right, even if he does play. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. I talked about it, Todd having that theory on the show a couple weeks ago. And so we talked about it in chat and on here, but that was because I was talking about what he had theorized prior to that game. And Jeremy did end on his best game, right? I think that's what it was. Like, he had a really good game, and then, yeah. Rank Asengwe, Traore, and Gonzalez. Oh, man, those guys are all pretty close in my mind. I wouldn't argue with anyone having any order of those three. I still think Traore is going to be fine. I don't know. I like all three of them. I think they're really, really even. That's kind of a cop out, but I don't think there's like a huge separation between either of those three. So like any argument I make for one over the other is just kind of minimal. So I think they're all really close. But yeah. Didn't he end on like a 1 for 12 game? Maybe it was one game after his good game or something, but I don't remember how it went down. But all I know is that Todd said they were going to shut him down as soon as he started playing well again. Da, da, da. All right, any other things you guys want to talk about? Eric, did you end up winning that Hawks bet? Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to lose that Hawks bet. Stupid Heat. I blame the Heat, man. And the 76ers. The Heat and the 76ers are going to cost me that freaking bet. It was that the play-in didn't matter. It was just if they finished in the top 8 or not. So I need the Bulls to pass them for the 8-9, or I'm out of luck there. But yeah, the Heat falling off, man. Dylan Brooks got ejected. And now it's my bet with Gray Hughes on. I have to go look. I don't remember. It's 35 or 36 wins for the Blazers. But that bet in particular is looking like it could come down to the end. Now, if the Blazers completely tank, that's another good thing for me, I guess. Not only better odds, but I definitely win that bet if they lose out. Is Traore kind of like Killian Hayes, or are they both just French? I don't think he plays like Killian Hayes. I think he plays more like Jalen Suggs, which I guess is kind of like Killian Hayes because Killian's been a good defender, but I don't know. Yeah, Grant scored 25 versus the Pistons, and then he was shut down. Taylor Packer says, speaking of Jeremy, I don't think he'll be able to be moved this offseason, so I'll be right back to starting next season. Yeah. Yeah, probably. We'll probably be seeing starting Jeremy next year. Ugh. He better come off the bench, man, if he's still on the roster. He better be coming off the bench. Come on. The real reason I want the Blazers tank. No, it's just the secondary reason. Oh man, for a roly poly, you talk about Bull way too much, man. That's enough Bull for tonight. You haven't mentioned anything about Dwop yet. Talk about Dwop. Rich Paul not letting Jeremy come off the bench. It's league politics. Yeah, maybe, but they also could say, dude, we gave Jeremy this. We paid your client. Come on now. Come on. So I think I don't think they care. They got him paid. They got him paid. Trevin asked what that background noise is. My daughter was watching something on the iPad that for some reason just like a little too loud every once in a while. And then she's also cutting up strawberries, so we'll see. Well, you can talk about how DeWalt played tonight. You don't want to talk about his game tonight? Blaze the Nug says, "How stupid is Joe Cronin?" Rate his stupidity on a 1 to 100 scale.
Extremely. 1,000. Dad. 1,000.
Yeah, sure. No comment, but my son commented for me. There you go. He doesn't even know who Joe Cronin is, really, but yeah. Is Cronin, Burt Cole, and Jody Allen the worst ownership and front office combo in the NBA? It is up there, but I think someone has passed them, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. By far are the worst. But Dallas is number one. They're by far number one, and that's a shame because like last season, you could make a case that they were really solid. You know, really solid. They made some really good moves, and then they just plummeted their old situation. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's the worst. We'll see what the Grizzlies do with their situation. Firing a coach with 9 games left as a playoff team is kind of weird. Yeah. I can't. I mean, a lot of people might say Ishbia is up there too, but like, I can't fault an owner for like wanting to win. Same with like Ballmer. They're at least trying to win. You can't say they're trying to take the value of their team or don't care about winning or whatever. At least they're actually trying to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go all in and go like deep into the salary, like you have to make all the right moves, and obviously the Beal move is gonna come back to being the thing that kind of screwed them. If they just traded for someone else that didn't have a no trade clause or that fit a little better positionally with that roster, I think it looks a lot different, and the execution part of it looks better. But yeah, when you make that big of a mistake, it's hard to recover from it, no matter how good you do elsewhere. Yeah. Dallas is just one big act of stupidity. Cronin shows many acts of small stupidity. Yeah. What are the odds a player like Luke ever falls in Portland's lap? I mean, in a trade, it's pretty much impossible. Uh, if it was like a draft, I mean, we could get lucky and draft someone like that. But yeah, Jones is a good GM. He was just forced into the trades. I don't know about that. I don't know, man. Uh, You could say the KD trade was bad too. I mean, you gave up McHale and Cam Johnson. Both those guys have insane value right now on the trade market, but or had insane value on the trade market in McHale's case. I know you can't not trade for KD, but I mean that trade hasn't worked out either. I mean, maybe they still recover if they get a uh, good package for him this offseason, but the fact that Beal's unwilling to move his no trade, they're kind of stuck. Um, a good GM isn't forced into trades. Part of the job, maybe one of the most important parts, is selling your vision and strategy to the owner. Absolutely, Sean. Absolutely. Um, Grizzlies or Lakers in that series? I think you definitely have to go Lakers right now. I talked about that earlier. Yep. You guys might be stuck with me until I can figure out how to end this stream. Let me see if I can get there. Oh, I found it. Never mind. Never mind. I found a way to do it. Is there a benefit for the Blazers if they choose to keep Ayton? That's an interesting question. I think I find it hard to believe if they kept Ayton, he would just be cool with playing like 25 minutes off the bench or something like that. Um, so, yeah, maybe they could use him as an expiring at the trade deadline. But if you're just talking about benefit to actually playing after that, I think he's the type of player who would not fare well if you tried to say you're going to come off the bench and back up Klingon. I think he would have issues with that, be kind of pouty. I mean, I hope I'm wrong with this, but yeah, I just find it hard to believe that he would be okay with that. And then you have that issue looming over you all season. And then if you play him over Klingon or start him still, I think I think Clayton would be okay as long as you gave him a decent enough role off the bench. I don't think that would be super detrimental to his long term. So I guess you can kind of make it work. But yeah, I think if he's on the team, I just find it hard to believe things would work out if he wasn't starting. So I think you'd probably start him. So I guess it would be okay for one season, and then you let him walk or whatever after that season. So I think it's fine. I think ideally you just get another backup center that's cheaper and just can come off the bench fine, and then you move him. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Like Aiden's the type of player you have to kind of be careful what you do or say to him, and things like that. So I just I'd rather not have those on the team, but yeah. Turning my computer won't work because it's running from Tori's computer. So I was trying to figure out how to end it from my end on his computer, but I think I figured it out. When do the Blazers realistically make the playoffs again? Um, I think with the right moves, it could be next season. At least the plan. I think that's got to be the goal heading into next season. Now, personally, if they suck next year and are really bad, I'm okay with that too because, like I said earlier, that 2026 draft is, I think there's like 3 or 4 guys who could be bona fide stars in the NBA, and if you get a high enough pick, you're almost guaranteed to get one of them. So, I think that's fine. So yeah, I'd be cool with that. But I think they should be contending for a playoff spot as early as next season, and then 2 years from now they should be a playoff team sometime in the next 2 years. If not, the kind of trajectory they're on has obviously hit a snag, and they're in a lot of trouble. Will the Kings blow it up after this season? Uh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they already traded Fox, so I could see them trading Sabonis at some point too, and just going super young. But I mean, they don't have a lot of players that you feel good about building on, right? Either. So, uh, I don't know what you do if you're them. I guess you got to kind of hold on to where you're at, but. Is next year's draft better than this year's, in your opinion? Yeah, that's a hard one to answer. If you're just talking about getting a star, I think there's potentially 4 players that could be stars in that draft, or 3 players at least. Um, yeah, and man, I think the world of AJ Damonsa, Cam Boozer is awesome too. Like those 2 guys in particular are going to show out next year in college, I think, and um, yeah. So I I I don't know, man. I don't know if it's deeper yet. You still have to see the guys play. Um, but yeah, I'll say the 2026 draft will end up being better. But Cooper Flag is right up there with those guys. So if you get Cooper Flag, this draft is better. If you don't get Cooper Flag this year, I'd say next draft is better. Um, if the starting lineup next year includes 2 of Aiden, Grant, and Simons, how mad would you be, Eric? Um, I don't know. I've kind of talked myself into expecting that kind of thing, and that if something changes, I can get excited. But I'm just at this point, it's like, we've had all these trade deadlines and stuff where it's like, oh, you have to trade this player at this deadline, and then they don't move him or whatever, like Brogdon last year and Jeremy this year and stuff. And so it's like, do I really expect them to actually trade those guys? No, not really. So I I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them are still in our starting lineup next year. We're bringing better players off the bench. It's how it is. Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the Kings real quick, this is why it's weird to when they made the Fox trade, they were talking about how they wanted to get a good player to stay relevant or whatever. So they trade for Zach LaVine. And LaVine's a good player or whatever. But it, that's what happens. Like you get stuck stuck in this mediocrity range, and that's exactly what I don't want the Blazers to do is get stuck in that range where the Kings are. So, yeah, they had that one good season where they over exceeded expectations, got all the way to the third seed, and still didn't go anywhere in the playoffs or anything. And then they thought they were going to build upon that, and they didn't. We sure do love mediocrity, though, says JP Savvy, which I agree with. Sean asks, is it weird to anyone else that Carlos Boozer's kid is a top prospect? Yep. Yeah, it is weird. All these guys that have kids. Keon Anthony was the MVP of some tournament today. Yeah, we got a lot of sons of good players coming out soon. Well, Dylan Harper is the son of Derek Harper, or Ron Harper, sorry. Yeah. Yep. Brendan says with how our three ball has been, we need shooting. Yeah, we definitely need shooting. I've said many times that's our number one need this offseason. I don't think we need to address it with the draft. Like you could probably find some shooters if you don't get a shooter in the draft. But yeah, the more people they can add that can actually shoot the ball would be better. Yep. All right. So Tori will definitely be live tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it from work or not. So we'll see about that. Yeah. And then Tuesday we'll be live after the Blazers take on. Who are we playing on to? Is it the Hawks? It's the Hawks, right? Yeah, the Hawks. So after that game, Tori and I will be live. Like you said, might be a little bit later. And then, yeah. Then we'll be live Thursday and Friday after the games then. So we play those days, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday this week. Be live after all those. And then Monday, Thursday afternoons we'll have shows. Yeah. I don't know if this is going to hurt or help my availability on the Monday and Thursday streams. I did just get a promotion at work that starts in a couple weeks. And so I'm going to be working the same days, but maybe slightly different hours or not as long some days. So may be able to make some streams, but miss other ones. But yeah, so thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah. I'm not the CEO yet. Not even close. No. So I owned my own business for almost 12 years. Had to close down back in 2023. And then, yeah. So I've been a merchandiser for a beverage distributor recently, or since that I just took a job so I could make some money, and I worked my way up to a sales position that I got. So no longer merchandising, moving up into the sales part. So yeah. Yep. They promoted me even after having a fight with my boss. Yeah. But that's one of the reasons why I was happy to get a promotion from merchandising is I don't have to deal with all the crap I've been dealing with for the last 2.5 months with kind of in a crappy situation. I don't need that motto, Eric, because I already have woman. So, yeah. Mount Hood, it's more. So I don't work for Coke, but I work just for someone similar to that. And yeah, so basically, I just, as a salesperson, I'm going to be doing orders for store, like grocery stores and stuff. And then I help build displays and things like that. Yeah, my company does sell alcohol, Sean, but I don't know about how to get that. But all right, guys. So yeah, it's been fun chatting with all of you. John Nash with the last minute question: who would you prefer to replace Chauncey? Um, I mean, I wouldn't mind Jenkins, even though we kind of lost the locker room there in Memphis. I still think he's a good coach and would be good for us. But really, I I really just want to get like an assistant that's kind of hungry and wants to just like really prove himself and will work tirelessly to watch film and implement new schemes and stuff. I feel like a lot of these older coaches or coaches that have had chances to coach already get kind of stagnant in like they think their scheme works and doesn't switch around much. Um, so yeah, I really I don't mind I don't mind the I don't mind a retread if it's someone like Taylor Jenkins, like Atkinson would have been had he not been hired by Cleveland this year. Someone who kind of got railroaded or not the fairest chance at their previous job. Um, so yeah. Um, so yeah, I'd be okay with one of those types. Um, like Mike Brown, for example, is someone that I would have been okay with in the past, but he's had like 3 or 4 chances to be a head coach. Like, do we really need to give him a fourth or fifth chance? So like, I was watching like some of these college games, thinking about this. Like, some of these coaches, like you feel like they just eat, sleep, drink, and I don't think Chauncey is like breaking down film and doing it that way. And I could be wrong, but um, I just think a lot of these coaches just get kind of set in their ways and then don't like, do I really need to watch 8 hours of film today? Meanwhile, like if you hire the young assistant trying to prove himself or a small college coach, like Ben McCollum from Drake this year, for example, like what if you just hired a guy like that? I know he went to Iowa, so that's probably off the table, but like, someone who's like someone who just come in and just, man, would that guy try to do a lot of different things scheme wise and all that. So, um, someone who I've always liked and thought should be given a chance is Jerry Stackhouse. I really liked some of his philosophies and accountability at Vanderbilt, and now he's had a chance to work under Golden State system to see how Steve Kerr and those guys do it, something that Atkinson had recently as well. Um, Now we can learn from Terry's thoughts on Golden State. No, just kidding. Um, but like, someone like that, or we had several last year. I forgot the guy's name. Who was the Phoenix assistant that is the BYU coach now? Is it Kevin Young, or is he the guy who left BYU to? No, it's Kevin Young, right? I'm pretty sure. Someone like that. Charles Lee, I think, is the Hornets coach, right? It's longtime assistants that deserve a shot, and then you listen to them talk, and it just seems like they're going to do everything they can to get good. Now, you might miss on it or whatever, but I kind of like that over a guy who's, especially like a former player with hardly any experience, that might not necessarily know what to do or how to work as tirelessly as some of those other guys who just like that might be their only chance to be a head coach, so they're just gonna do everything they can. But yeah. Yeah, I don't think you have to necessarily get hospitalized for exhaustion for watching too much film, but yeah, that's the kind of attitude I want to have, like someone who's gonna dedicate their life to doing that. I think Chauncey has a little too much maybe social life, or like knows too many people or whatever. Like, I don't know. No, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't be a coach if you're like that. It's just, I don't know. I just kind of want someone who's going to come in and show these young guys just a insane work ethic and stuff. JP says, Samuel says, I'll be fine with a head coach whose name is not Chauncey Billups. Yeah. Yeah, I want to see a coach come in kind of like Diagonal, and we'll see if he can win a title. But like, I don't know, someone who just has a philosophy, brings in a system, gets an identity, wants his players to play through it, gets a young team to buy in, gets the most out of talent even before you're good, and then as you ascend, you keep getting better. But yeah. Well, I'm not sure there's anyone on OKC staff that would work. Wes Davidson says not Doc Rivers though. Yeah, I think I'd rather have Chauncey than Doc Rivers. Although, if Doc Rivers was their coach, that would mean Dame would have a new coach in Milwaukee. So that would be the only silver lining, I guess. But would suck for us. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to end the stream, but like I said, it was really fun chatting with you all. Thank you all for interacting. That did in chat. Really appreciate the conversation. And it's just fun to sit here. I talk ball all day with you guys. Yeah, Sean asked if I had to pick one going forward, Sharp or Kamara. Oh, dude, why do you have to ask that question? One, we can keep both of them, so we don't have to pick. But I mean, Kamara's awesome. He's like a guaranteed solid role player, but you have to take Sharp just based on upside. Like you have to, man. Yeah, and that's not a knock on Kamara at all. Like Tamani is awesome. I'm so glad we have him. But like you have to you need the scores to star upside. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, you know what you have in Kamara, and that's an awesome player, but you need the upside of some of your guys. Yeah, I am fighting upside versus tangibles. Yep. All right, I hope to see all of you on streams later in the week. I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. Yeah. Mount Hood, Garben, you asked a question that we talked about earlier in the stream. We did talk about Taylor Jenkins earlier in the stream. I actually had some information on that. If you want to hear more about that, go back and listen to it. Yeah, I know I gotta say the line. All right. Love you all. Hope you have a good rest of your night. And as Tori always says, peace out. Go Blazers. As I figure out how to end the stream. Hopefully this works. Bye, everybody.